Welcome to my first Kirby music reaction. Got this little guy and a lot of other merch in Japan. And yeah, he'll sit right there. And this is the first time I am looking at a Kirby track. It's probably been too long. I've had a couple suggestions, not a ton, but a couple that sounded really interesting to me. And I'm really interested in taking a look at them. I don't really know what to expect too much. I have played a few Kirby games. I think I started with Crystal Shards on the 64. I actually still have the box around here. I should have grabbed that too. But maybe for a different Kirby video, I'll intro and show that box because it's just so nostalgic to me. But I love that game, love the music in it. I love the Kirby music that's in the Smash Bros. Series because I play a lot of that. And yeah, I'm aware that they've got great stuff. Actually, Kirby Air Ride has one of my favorite soundtracks. Totally forgot. One of my favorite games of all time is Kirby Air Ride. And pretty excited that they're making a sequel. Although, I don't know if it can recapture the magic of City Trial and that kind of stuff unless they do it perfectly. But there's 4 or 5 unbelievable tracks in Kirby Air Ride alone. So I haven't played a lot of the series, but I know how good the music can get. So I'm pretty excited for this. It's a really long track at... how long is it? 8 minutes. So it might be pretty expansive. I've heard this is a final boss track or some kind of boss track, if I remember correctly. And yeah, wait a second. Let me fix a thing on my screen here. There we go. Had the suggestions in the wrong spot. Glad I caught that. Let's give it a shot. I really don't know. My first guess, I like to kind of make a guess at least before I start stuff, so it's something fun to compare to. But my instinct guess would be that this is going to be with different phases that feel like it has almost different movements. With 8 minutes, I'm guessing it's going to have a couple minutes in very different sections, unless it's like a 4-minute track and it's just posted with a loop to play twice on YouTube. But yeah, it's got 1 million plus views, so I'm really curious. Let's go. Damn, right away with the choir, the organ. All right. I made it 25 seconds. It's pretty good for me. Yeah, holy shit. It brought in so many instruments so quickly. I think in the first second it had something plus choir. Yeah, the kind of celestial sound with the choir, 4 or 5 instruments right away, and it just builds to, I don't know, a dozen instruments. Some kind of aggressive, yeah, some pretty aggressive, cello melodies here, actually borderline harsh, which is really interesting. They come in with a lot of energy actually and really ascend upwards, and there's just so much going on. Yeah, we've got these bells, these celestial sounds and chimes. We've got the timpani coming in pretty clearly, a nice classical timpani. Let me see where it was. Right here. Yeah, you really hear that that kind of drum roll in the background that crescendos very gradually here. And then it has, kind of a couple more drum hits, but that's the timpani in the orchestra, which honestly is usually responsible for a lot of the most epic moments. It's really an impressive tool, not to be overused, and a lot of kind of epic film score things way overused timpani, choir and timpani, and just really exaggerated. But most good game music does not, and sticks a little closer to the restraint used in a real classical symphony. I think it's one of those things you want to use it sparingly so that when it happens it really amplifies the intensity. Or in a situation like here, the timpani is not that loud. When you see a live symphony orchestra, the timpani is really, really fucking loud. It blows your ears out with the timpani and the brass, just overpowering everything. Not always, and it can be played more quietly, but a lot of the really incredible epic moments, that just kind of blow the roof off in terms of their volume, you know, like real rock concert, like levels of sound in a live symphony, happen with the timpani and the brass really going off. So I associate it a lot with like super high volume, but here it's pretty gentle with a nice little crescendo. But yeah, then it kind of bursts into what I believe is some pretty rapid strings melodies. And if this is like the core theme, it's going to be impressive. But I'm going to back up like 5 and get the transition into the main section. Cool chord change. Wow. Interesting. Wow, just like very quick running, like kind of 16th notes on the strings, depending on the meter you want to call it. Yeah, and they kind of shift from the chords they're arpeggiating in a pretty cool like harmonic pattern, a little bit more interesting than usual. Yeah, it's creating like kind of a unique feel. It's like a little bit, it's obviously heightened energy and comfortable because it's not a super basic chord progression. Yeah, I think it gives a great energy for the beginning of a boss fight. I just love these running strings and the sort of symphonic orchestration going on with it. Yeah, I got to back up and hear this first section in the main part of the piece again. I accidentally went to the next part, but that's fine. I hit the arrow key. Yeah, let me back up and hear the start of this next section again. Great, like, strong violin melodies. A little bit of double stops. Honestly, almost sounds like the Zelda theme for a second there, the main Zelda main theme. Whenever you hear arrangements of it with violins. Yeah, it sounds a lot like the melodic structure of the Zelda theme, which is fun. You know, very heroic. That's one of the main things about the main Zelda theme, is that it's really structured to create a feeling of heroism and adventure. So it's doing the same thing here for the same reasons without copying it at all. Interesting rhythmic choices with the melody. Ooh, hell yeah. The groovy piano. Damn, they bring in this groovy piano as an underlying layer, which sounds incredible. Shifting away from the timpani percussion into a more typical drum kit. And the violin melody, I mean, it's been really moving ever since it was introduced, even in the very beginning with what seemed more like cello rising up maybe to the violins or just higher cello range. But really, since even the intro, the strings have really been moving, but they get a different sense of rhythm now with this groovy, jazzy piano kind of running bass line underneath. Yeah, it just feels different rhythmically, even though it's not necessarily faster, but something about it feels faster in a way. But really, in the previous section, we had such like that violin melody really had a lot of unique little rhythmic choices and phrasing rather than being super uniform. Like, it kept it really interesting but also unpredictable. Like, if you imagine a boss in a game whose movements are meant to throw you off, like they're not super easy to read and you have to stay on your toes, that's the kind of energy that rhythmic phrasing, that kind of little bit unexpected, or at least like variety of rhythmic pulse in the melody kind of does to my brain in the context of a game. Anyways, I'm going to back up a little bit again and get this kind of jazzy piano bass line section. It's not what I was expecting. Yeah, it's still got the violins, but man, it's so choppy. I love it. Ooh, little drums. Where are we gonna go? It's so amazing. Some distant bells coming in. Yeah, we've got the choir a little more prominent now. We had a section where the bells in the distance kind of came in more prominently. We've clearly like sort of dropped some of the heavy layers and going with something a little lighter for more of the open space in this track. You can't really go, completely hard the whole time. It depends. That can be an artistic choice. But I kind of hoped it was going to have a little room just for like essentially for you to play the game. Again, that's not necessary, but I sort of had a feeling it could use like a little bit of a section with more space in the instrumentation, and that's exactly what it's doing. It's keeping the energy high, but in a lighter way compared to what we had before, which was pretty intense. The violin was getting, choppy and played in an aggressive way, which I fucking love. And we had just really high tempo and rhythmic aggression. And now we're just, we're playing with a little bit, shifting in and out certain instruments in the layers, but keeping it a little bit more chill for a bit. Again, they brought sort of the choirs back in here in some kind of like odd ways, very like synthy choirs. So they're able to do some things in ways that are a little bit inorganic. All right, now the violin's going to the jazzier side instead of just the piano. It's really joining it in the jazz. Yes. Oh, shit. Okay. I love that drum fill, and then right after that drum fill, we get this slap bass. Oh my god. We have not heard that yet. I love that. My god. Okay. I was just chilling for a while, listening longer than I usually do, because it was staying in like a similar, adding a little bit, removing a little bit, shifting a bit, but staying in the more chill section. Then we had a section that I think more than before, the violin has started to combine with the sort of jazz idiom of the piano until it's like more full throughout the approach of the music. Let me back up and see where I can catch exactly where this is going on. Yeah, there we really get a little bit of a bridge between sort of sections. It's still not super different from the prior section, but we get a little bridge where the piano is louder in the mix and really, states the sort of jazz style, and then the violin comes back in. I think is playing a little bit jazzier than before. A lot of cool little dissonant note choices in this sort of violin solo section, which I really love. Yeah, what a transition. We get that drum fill into the slap bass, and it's just so strong and prominent. It's really such an awesome sound. I'm a big fan of this kind of slap bass. I just think it sounds so cool. You can hear slap bass a little bit still. Cool, some hits with the choir. Slow down the tempo feel. Hell yeah. Yes. Oh, I love that held note in that soprano and then raising even higher. Not sure if it's a recording of a real singer or a sample. Sample would be certainly easier to go up to that note. The effect is pretty much the same, although it's like you get an extra hit of like being super impressed if it's a real person doing it. But yeah, that's quite a high note. It was already at like kind of a climax in that transition, and then it raises it again, which I love. But what a cool, like, this voice has come in. Still got this great violin solo melody going like you've had most of the time. Kind of had a run of bells here. Yeah, right here we get a voice coming in. We've got some cool, you know, vocal sweeps and slides, kind of subtle, but I really like them. We saw those a little bit in one of the other pieces we did recently. I don't remember which one it was. I think it might have been City Ruins for Nier that had some really prominent vocal slides. And we're already getting them here in the subtle voice introduction. I'm wondering if this voice is going to expand and we're going to get a full like song here in like maybe like phase 2 of this track. I'm really curious. Like, I have no idea. It's definitely possible that we won't, but it sounds gorgeous. Even if it were like a sample digital, like even if it could be, I think it sounds fantastic. Like, you know, work with what you've got. And if it's real, like it certainly could be, and that's awesome too. Ultimately, it doesn't, you know, super matter here. I think the impact in the track is great. Like, I'm really taken by the introduction of this, and yeah. Yeah, I love this. Something like that. Man, I was way off pitch at first there, but I'm going to leave that in. Who cares? We're all imperfect. Yeah, it goes up at like another minor third there, I think. Ooh, and then the violin kind of reaches up to those same notes to where it almost sounds like the voice. They're very similar sound at that high pitch, and they almost like blend together a little bit. But I just love this climb, and just stepping up that extra third at the end is so cool. I know I'm really focusing on this part, but I think like the impact of listening to a track for 3 minutes without any vocals except a kind of subtle use of a synthy choir. Again, my apologies if it's a real choir. It just has that synth kind of sound. And that's all as far as voices. And for 3 minutes to happen and then for it to introduce. Again, very likely to be like a second phase of a final boss. I could definitely see that being the case. And then it, you know, maybe doesn't, or it's not quite correct to analyze the impact of it the same way you would say, like, you sit and listen to a track for 3 minutes and it changes. Rather, like, it's very obvious to you, like, you're playing the game, hearing one thing, and then you're in, it's like a whole new track, possibly, when you switch to another phase. Sometimes, like, the lines blend between those a little bit. The lines blur. Like with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, they have, like, one of the Genova fights in the first game in FF7 Remake, actually. The Genova fight where it has several phases. They give you the main theme you've been waiting for in the last phase, but it kind of morphs from section to section. Each section's really impressive, but it's like, yeah, they're phases, but it's not super clearly delineated. It does give you the feeling as if you've been listening to and waiting through a long amount of music before it transforms. So it's possible that also the lines are blurred here. When you go to another phase, it's not like, you don't feel like you're starting a whole new track of music, essentially. Like, that's not the impression. It's possible you do feel like, whoa, suddenly we've got vocals, the same way I'm feeling like here. Anyways, having a great time with the impact of these popping up, and we're going to see where it goes. So many bells. Choir again. I love that distant drum sound. I love this. We get a little space really for like the first time. We get these bells and just sort of some echoing, some reverb in the emptiness. Finally get a little space, and I'll see what do they come in with after this. What's the transition into? Are we again going to get more of that voice or what? Ooh, I can hear the voice. Whoa. 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 Hello, organ. Oh my god, I was not expecting... Sorry, let me turn on my little MIDI keyboard. I was not expecting... This section sounds so different from everything else. What does this sound like? Oh, yes, it's funny. I had a connection to Zelda before. Now I have a connection to Mario. Like, yeah, they're like kind of the two biggest things, like the Koji Kondo legends. But, you know, just coincidence here. This just so happens to sound like the Bowser's Castle theme from Mario. It just does. Just for a moment, just like the Zelda theme kind of just, it sounded like it for a few seconds and gave the same impact. Here for a few seconds, it sounds like Bowser's Castle. Same chord progression, I think. Yeah, and Bowser's Castle, I think, sometimes has organ in the arrangement too, so it sounds a lot like it just for that 5-10 seconds. I'm definitely going to include a clip of the Mario Bowser's Castle so you can see what I mean, but yeah, really similar. That's awesome. But I'm also going to look at like what some of these notes are in the piano. Let me just open up the software that lets me do this and get a sample going for the MIDI keyboard. Yeah, okay, it's faint, but in the background the organ's doing... And at this point, it's just repeating that. It's using this kind of raised fourth, which is part of a scale I really like. Anyways, I really enjoy that scale in C minor. It's kind of using it here. Yeah, just to recreate that slide in the voice would be... Awesome section, very organ focused again. Just super cool, like very Bowser's Castle, which is, you know, kind of one of the great sort of tracks, final boss tracks, final sort of boss zone tracks of all time. But keep going. Wait a second. Hold the phone. What is this? Incredible drum fill. Oh my god. What is this sound? Is this an effect on a guitar? I think it is, but it's like something about it is almost like accordion-esque. Like it's a really interesting effect. Like I can't even tell what instrument it is for a minute. Damn, what a cool effect. Damn, what is this sound? What is this? Love that crescendo in and out. Damn, we get some horns! Oh my god. Yes. Oh my god, what incredible. These trumpets come in and just kill. Like, just a fresh instrument this far in. Like, I don't know if this would be another, like, phase of the fight, but, like, I don't think they would change phase just with bringing trumpets, but they sound so good. What a fresh sound. And after that cool guitar effect and after this organ section, really getting a chance to experience very different instruments in the forefront here. Not quite in the very, battle royale way, like in some of the Leighton themes, like we saw with the theme of the Devil's Flute, where they really went back and forth, in a solo versus solo duel of the instruments. Here, they're getting their own sections larger to focus on, which is not uncommon, of course. It's definitely a typical way to switch sections in music, is to change the instrumentation. But just like unexpected instruments coming out, I just think it's so cool. Like an organ section, this neat guitar sound, and then we get this trumpet come in. Like, it seems so fresh when you've heard other stuff for that long. It's all about context with instrumentation. Yes. Damn, they really sent that voice up there. Oh my god, some whistle tones there. Like crazy whistle tones. Would love to see someone like sing this on a cover doing some actual whistles. Like, that would be amazing. There's not really long sections of the voice continuously, unless the rest of the song has it. So there's not too much to work with for a cover unless you arrange some of the choir into a solo voice. Like, that could make it more continuous maybe to sing. But I would love to hear like somebody with an actual like really good whistle register hit these notes in a cover. That would be sick. Man, this whole part is awesome. Let me back up a bit. Fascinating combination of sound. And there's quite often, I've mentioned this in a couple other pieces I've listened to, it's not that common, but I have run into it a few times, of just this wonderful, like, gradual crescendo and then decrescendo back out on the same held notes, or the reverse, loud and then back slowly to soft and then loud on the same sustained note. It's just a really, like, an effect that's a lot of attention to detail and adds some more just care and interest to what's going on dynamically. And you hear it again here with this held note. Right here on this note, it gradually goes, I think, in and out. It crescendos a bit and then back away. Oh my god, this sounds like... Now it sounds like Fire Emblem. We've got this, like, classic feel. There's something very 16-bit about this section with this kind of brass. It's not the same as that kind of, trumpet solo from before. Oh my god, I've done so much like 16-bit Fire Emblem on this channel with Fire Emblem 4 that this just sounds just like it. It's like an HD version of that music. That's so cool. Which really could be a Fire Emblem track. Really got the drums going off here on the fills, and probably other times too. I think it's probably gradually building up in the amount of drum work going on, which oftentimes happens, raising intensity across the whole track, and I love it. Oh, wonderful timpani rumble there. Kind of came back. We've been getting so much of this drum kit. This is the first time I've noticed the timpani come back, and it really is effective. This thunder kind of rumble in the background. I love it. It's so good. It's such a great sound. When you hear it, live with a symphony in front of you, and that kind of wave of sound hits you with that timpani's rumble, it's really incredible. It's just a guy with two kind of mallets, hitting this big drum, but like it just works so well. Like you gotta hear it live to experience it in some great symphonies, maybe like the finale of Mahler 1 or Rachmaninoff's Second Symphony, which is my favorite. Something like that, like really hits you. Anyways, it's used all over, but there's some really loud kind of rumbling, thunderous moments that are just glorious to hear with the full wave of acoustic sound in your face. It's so good. When it's really good, it can make you cry. It's like really a lot to take in. Anyways, love that use there. I feel like this track just keeps mixing up the instrumental layers. Again, common thing to do in good arrangements, like it's a frequent approach, but that doesn't make it any less enjoyable. I mean, nothing about an approach being common or being good practice makes it less good. For example, like you could say it's common good practice to write melodies that have a general arc-like shape that gradually overall trend towards going up and then back down. Sometimes directly, they literally just climb up and down. And some of it, like they meander their way up and gradually reach sort of a peak, and then they meander their way back down, or just one way up. But, that doesn't mean somebody's doing that as like relying on some sort of preset thing that they ought to be more original and not copy. No, there's a reason why that works. Like there's some things that are good practice because they're just good. Like you're completely free to make art that ignores any of that. But they're useful things that we've figured out that work well. In this case, something that we figured out that works well, that people who apply some good practice or have good instincts, maybe they don't even know, but they just instinctually do it as composers or arrangers, is to section by section keep mixing up the combination of instruments that create the overall layers of sound. So it sounds different and stays interesting, like common, but important to do. Like you don't have to, but tracks like this, like they continue to stay interesting because I'm constantly going like, what is this new combination of instruments? Like it keeps changing and keeps being different, and makes me really interested. But yeah, we still got some time. Let's see where this is going. Okay. I was not ready. I'm never ready. This is like the 10th time it feels like in this track that it's like introduced something brand new that I haven't heard before, and it's just like, whoa, my mind was so like primed to have this jump out. What is this? Wow, really like, I don't know, like 80s electronic like effect on a guitar or a keyboard. Like it feels like synthwave. It like transforms into the violin. I feel like it just morphed into the violin for the similar melody that we've had throughout most of the track. Did it? I think it just stops in that mid-range as the violin starts and goes from the mid-range up. But it's so hard to tell. They really overlap here. Yeah, it kind of does a couple notes going back down a little bit, and the violins start in the same section, the mid-register, and go up. And just for that moment, they sound similar and almost like one becomes the other. But like for a moment, we had this real like kind of synthwavy guitar effect. I'm gonna go back to hear when it was released. Where was this? I think I missed it. Right here. Like, gosh, that is so beautiful. I wish like it stayed more strong in the mix and they kept using it more because it's such a cool like synthwave kind of sound. But it starts fading in intensity, and then, like I said, it almost feels like it morphs into the violin because of the way that they overlap briefly. And the violin kind of does what we're used to the voice sort of doing. And the voice is doing it too right now, but the violin's louder and jumps up really, really high. Ooh, there's that electronic guitar. Yeah. Holy shit, I loved that. Listen to that crunch. Yes. Oh, incredible bass notes with that guitar effect. It sounds so cool. But it comes up and does what? Some kind of trill or something? Are we going into a guitar solo with this effect? I would love that. We'll see what we're going to get. But just those 3 little notes descending down. Wonder what they are. Okay, they're in E flat minor, just the last, first 3 notes of the scale. Yeah, we get a little trill there. On what note is that? Yeah, I think it might be a trill on the B flat. We get the brass again? Okay. Yeah, that is, it's doing similar stuff to the previous organ section, but a little bit different. It's still in the E flat minor, sort of the second chord we were talking about, but this time it's using the first 3 notes of the scale, but going back down to the 5th. Anyways, all right, here we go. New section. Same melodies, kind of Zelda-ish melody. Yes. Yeah, basically we have so many of the elements we've already heard so far, like coming in and out. We get the horns and the guitar and the voice and the violin, all of these kind of like taking turns a little bit, sometimes a couple of them at the same time, using the same kind of energy and rhythmic and melodic patterns that we've had since the beginning of the piece, just kind of bringing it all together in the end, giving you kind of a whirlwind taste of all the things that it's brought in. Which I think creates a great combination of stuff for the finale. So I'm just sort of enjoying listening to it because it's a lot of individual elements I've talked about already, and just fun hearing them all kind of come together and take turns and sort of mix up in new ways. So many layers. Get that part again. Crunchy. Man, I still really like that bit with the guitar. Yeah, the little... I don't know, it's just a great little flair on that bit. kind of get that electric guitar combined with a sort of Fire Emblem-y section. Now we're getting a fade out. Well, maybe not. I thought it was fading out. This part just sounds so fun. Now we get the fade out. But the start of this section, oh my god, it just sounds so fun. What an amazing combination. Like, if the track had started with this, I would have, like, kind of freaked out. It sounds so good. It's just really fun. It's really exciting. Man, there's so many elements in this. Yeah, let me give some, like, final thoughts and talk about, like, I definitely want to put this on my playlist because I enjoyed that a lot. That had so much good stuff. Yeah, it was really... Actually, let me go to this. It was really different from, like, anything I've heard, I think. Like, you know, obviously it's the first Kirby thing that I've looked at. It definitely had a Kirby feel as someone who, like, has played some of the games in the past, is definitely familiar with it, like, and how good and epic some of those soundtracks can be. You know, again, I've cited, like, Kirby Air Ride as being, like, some incredible kind of tracks, especially in, like, City Trial. So yeah, I was kind of prepared for it, but man, it just, like, every couple of minutes it would introduce something you hadn't heard yet. It sounded great. It would start mixing them more and more, create new layers, create new overall sounds and timbre of the instruments. A couple of moments with great stuff, like that probably synth voice, just like going up in that, you know, whistle register, giving this interesting effect, like even if it might be digital, which again, I'm sorry if it's not, but if it is, then I still don't think it matters that much because it still creates an interesting effect to, like, imagine almost like a Fifth Element kind of, like, it's still impactful to hear a voice do that, even if it might not be real recording. It still serves its purpose and has that impact and sounds awesome. But yeah, I was just continually kind of taken by the new sounds introduced. It did a good job of letting you get used to some and then bring in something that really mixed it up. Even switching to, like, this kind of jazzy style out of nowhere, like, there were a lot of, like, phases, like, a real story of going through this track in terms of my reaction, like stuff I wasn't prepared for and had to adjust to, and then adjust to the next thing, and then eventually you're getting it all mixed together. Super fun, really, you know, amusing coincidence to me that we got, like, what felt very Zelda-like, and then we got something that felt very Mario-like in both, like, very, like, original game kind of OST stuff for those series. And Kirby's, you know, kind of in the conversation with those games anyway, so fun to have those connections. We'll see if I add them to the video and if they work out. But anyways, on to the playlists. Yeah, where am I putting this? Probably Orchestrated Energy. I mean, it's got a mix of stuff, and it's not, like, massively orchestrated, to be fair. I don't think I'd put it in the dramatic classical, because I don't think it's classical, like, especially classically driven in terms of, like, symphonic orchestration, which again is maybe the problem with Orchestrated Energy. Maybe I don't have, like, good names here. Maybe I need to improve this a lot. Energetic Nostalgia, there's even a possibility for that, but I think nostalgia in this sense, like it says Mega Man, a little more of that chiptune feel, I think, and this doesn't have any of that. Honestly, I think it goes here. I think it goes with Theme of the Devil's Flute. I had similar experiences with these two tracks of sections with very different feelings arising, with lots of different instruments coming in, being used in great ways, and, you know, taking turns in the track, gradually building in intensity. Just a lot of variety. I think I'm gonna, like, call it something like this for now, and let's add this. Kirby and the Forgotten Land to, oops, messed that up. I'm going to put it there. Anyways, this was a very, very cool track. Thank you for the recommendation, and I look forward to looking at more Kirby.